Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is episode 45 in the podcast series. Welcome. If you're brand new, it's nice to see you. This is a podcast about knitting, garments, sweater modification, design. I do a little spinning here and there too. And if you're coming back, welcome back. It's nice to see you. It's been 45 episodes and it's nice to have you along for the ride. I'm coming to you from Urbana, Illinois, where I'm a professor at the university there. And it is a Saturday morning here, and everything is beautiful. The sunlight is beautiful. Everything's pretty gorgeous. My son is hanging out downstairs. My husband Spencer's working on the prison bus, which you'll hear more about in a minute. And I'm up here podcasting, which is cool to do because I hate to tell you guys, but I broke my ankle. And I can show you my boot. It's really stylish, right? Kind of a bummer. You guys know I love to walk everywhere and, get out and be out in the world, and that's not happening so much right now. I mean, I can walk on it a little bit, but it starts to hurt, so I have to kind of, sit around a little bit. Luckily, I can still knit. I did have a moment the other day when I was thinking, oh God, what if I had broken my wrist or my fingers or my hand or my arm, and I was in a cast, and would I be knitting with the ends of my, anyway, it was... You have a lot of time when you're sitting around in a boot cast, to kind of think about these things. So anyway, I'm doing fine. So what? There's a broken bone, whatever. Hopefully it'll heal in a few weeks and I'll be back at it. In the meantime, lots of knitting getting done, and poor Spencer, he is just taking on the lion's share of all the puppy work, and I so appreciate all that he's doing. He's been like a serious rock for this whole thing. You can probably hear the dogs outside barking right now. So in today's episode, we are going to take a field trip to the prison bus. And I've got Spencer to talk on the podcast today. We're going to talk about men knitting, knitting for men, anything you can imagine with men and knitting. We're going to try to get there in that segment. So I'll bring that on in just a second. I also have a beautiful cropped Nordsee Jacke. I think it's pronounced Nordsee Jacke. It's a jacket. It's a short cropped jacket from Albina McLaughlin of LB Handknits from her new collection Facing North. So I'll talk about that finished object. I have a new pattern out. The Phoenix Pullover is finally released, so we'll talk about that briefly. And I have giveaway winners from last week's episode, or last episode from the Woolly Thistle, and I have a new giveaway for you. So it's a big cast today. Let's jump right in and head out to the prison bus, shall we?
All right, well, I just want to welcome everyone to the bus, also known as the prison bus. Melissa mentioned a while back that she wanted to do a segment out here, and it's our future home. So I thought that we would come out here and hang out.
Yeah, we have different ideas about some things in life. That's okay. The prison bus is cool. So, for those of you who don't watch the prison bus videos, this is Metaspencer. He's my husband. You may have seen him on previous episodes. We are on the prison bus. The door is that way. Like the driver action is over there.
Sitting on the folding couch.
We're sitting on the folding couch bed thing that he made. There's like a fireplace behind us that's kind of warming the whole thing up. The whole thing is lit up with all these windows and everything, which is really nice.
Skylights.
It's natural light. There's skylights. There's a bed and a kitchen and a bathroom all back there.
It's a little bit less prison and a little more gourmet these days.
It is very, very much less prison. There's no more plexiglass and chains and cages and whatnot. So it's very nice in here. So I thought it would be fun to come out to the prison bus and do a little segment on men who knit and men's knitting, what men want in knitting. So this is prompted by...
What men want in knitting.
You gotta add the in knitting.
How about what men want from knitters?
Well, we can talk about that too.
All right.
So what prompted this is that I've been in touch with a few different guys on Instagram, and there's the doggies, and through the podcast comments, and just all through YouTube and things. So just the other day, DRS Jackson got in touch with me. We were talking about the master knitting class, and the knitting trucker. I was talking to the knitting trucker the other day. He's a great guy on Instagram.
Awesome.
He's making these cardigans for babies. And he's the knitting trucker. I mean, come on, right?
He posts all this trucking stuff and stuff about the world, and then there's just this beautiful little sweater.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Or scarf or something.
We like the knitting trucker a lot, and so do the dogs. And Kitten with Whiplash actually was one of the prize winners on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he got in touch and we were talking about men's knitting. So it just got me thinking about maybe it would be a good topic to talk about. So I thought I'd bring in like not only a dude that I know, but my dude, and also a dude who knits. And you guys have seen Spencer's knitting before, so we just kind of like have this random
some of it.
Conversation.
I try to keep it under wraps a little bit.
But that Metaspencer is a knitter?
No. But, you know, the items are just so different that I don't want to just expose everyone to them right away. So, you know, I've been sort of parsing them out one by one. I did bring a few hats out here.
Yes.
But I gotta say, I mean, you can't talk about men and knitting. That's just like too big of a
I totally agree.
thing.
Yeah. And
like what guys want in knitwear, that's just too, you know, it's like too big. Like who knows?
Well, it's just, that would be like saying what women want in knitwear, and that's there are just so many different. But we can talk about some specific things. Like I've knit you a couple of sweaters. Yeah. You've looked at like what's out there in terms of designs for men.
Yeah.
And then you also knit as a guy in this world, so we can talk about those things.
So when I look at designs, every now and then, like maybe 23 out of 24 hours in the day, Melissa will be like paging through Ravelry on her iPad or computer or whatever, and I'll be kind of trying to get her attention. And
you'll catch.
So I'll look at the designs because I just like looking at art and, you know, like cool stuff on Pinterest or whatever. And it seems like the really cool designs are not for the dudes. Like the really kind of interesting experimental knitwear that has like stuff going different directions or different colors.
Unless you're a Stephen West fan.
Unless you're Stephen West, but I feel like he has kind of like a niche style that if you're into that kind of wacky, clownish kind of stuff, was that the wrong thing to say? You're going to get some hate mail now?
Yeah, probably.
But he seems to have like a wacky, wild style, and I like it, but I'm not seeing like a bigger array of interesting...
Like a classic wardrobe's not going to come from Stephen West.
Yeah.
But you could maybe...
really funky stuff.
Like
I'm not saying there's nothing. Like, there's some cool hoodies, there's some cool cable stuff.
And Jared Flood's doing some stuff, Noragon's done some stuff. I mean, there's
stuff. But, you know, if I look at, like, the whole body, like, when you're paging through Ravelry, a lot of the cool stuff I see, it's not like sweaters for dudes. Right. But maybe they could be modded. When
we were looking for, like, designs to kind of think about for your sweater, the Fisherman's, the cabled Fisherman sweater.
We end up looking at some...
So it was, like, a lot of patterns from the 70s.
Old school 80s, stuff,
like, really weird kind of ski sweaters for dudes. And that was, like, a lot of what was out there. We did find the Noragon pattern, and the Denali is what I ended up knitting for you. But she only has a few men's patterns. And
I thought that I was also partly to blame because as I was looking at stuff, like when it really came down to it, like what I was going to wear, I was pretty traditional also. Like I was, you know, like kind of looking for something that wasn't...
it was more like regular, like traditional lines.
Yeah, it just wasn't too wacky or whatever. So like I like looking at the really experimental knit stuff, but when it come to actually wearing something, I was like, I don't know.
You wanted a cable knit Fisherman's classic kind of sweater.
Yeah.
So there's stuff out there, but it's harder to find, and a lot of it's dated. And so, and I mean, with a few exceptions. So we talked about Jared Flood and Oregon. Knit Picks has just come out with a collection called the Dapper collection for guys, which has a bunch of sweaters, ties,
I haven't
hats,
checked that out for
like
some reason.
I'm here to tell you.
Knit ties are coming back?
Knit ties are coming back.
Knit ties were big back in the day.
Yeah, and there are plenty of, like... There are not plenty. There are a few books about men's sweaters or men who knit, and we have one upstairs. I say because you got it for me. It's called the boyfriend sweater.
Is that in the yarn room? Where we used to have a guest room. Yeah. Yes.
It's called Boyfriend Sweaters, and it has a lot of menswear designs that are actually meant for...
Once you're married, you like take those sweaters and donate them to Goodwill.
They're meant to be like. For women, which is kind of part of the issue, but you know, like women who borrow their boyfriend's sweater, but you could knit them as men's sweaters. So there's some stuff out there, but I mean, what you like are traditional lines.
Now the other thing I guess I would mention is that, like you knitted me the two sweaters. One is this kind of, and I should have brought him on. So
we beat the sweater curse, by the way. Like I knit him sweaters and he's still here, so that's good.
I don't know what that is. Okay. One is this hemp sweater, which is awesome. It's kind of like, it looks like it's 100 years old. And it's just kind of distressed and funky, and I can crawl around and just mess it up, and it's great. The other one is the cable sweater, which is so warm. like you're about to die the minute you put that thing on. So it's not like a piece of clothing I've ever owned before where you can just kind of wear it in different contexts. Like you have to put it on in a particular temperature range, and then it's the best thing ever. Like between about 22 degrees and 0, you can wear that thing as a layer and you're just awesome.
And you said the other day, you were walking around the kitchen and you were just like, wow, it's really cool to have something that actually fits my body.
But if you walk in the house and hang out for a little while, you just start sweating.
Right after you said that, you were like, I've got to get this off.
Which is, I mean, it's like it's a really technical piece of gear.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, hey, I'm going to wear that today.
So if you were like a mountain climber going to like do the Eiger or something, you'd just like, old time.
No.
Pull
Patagonia.
That on.
Patagonia for that. No.
Come on. Like some knit stockings.
But I don't think that's true for all knitted stuff. Like I see you guys wearing these sweaters all the time. But I have a feeling
this is like a more of a fall sweater. It's not like the heavy, like close gauge, like.
So anyway, there's something about that they're just, like knitwear is pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So would you like to see more patterns for men out there in the world? Or do you think it's like...
You mean patterns for men, not the guy to be the knitter, but the...
No, for like just more up-to-date kind of patterns.
I don't know.
The dogs are wondering.
I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's...
Like, do you think there's a market for it?
I mean, I guess part of me thinks that the supply and demand are probably in a good relationship right now. Mm-hmm. You know, like if there was like this huge demand, like, you know, every dude was just like dying for a cardigan. God, cardigans kind of went out of style. Yeah. I used to wear cardigans. I don't have any cardigans right now. Anyway, I guess I feel like if the demand was there, the patterns and the sweaters would be there too. So it's probably where it is for a reason.
Yeah, and maybe the shift is happening because I mean, places like Knitpicks are putting out collections just for men, and like Jared Flood is really like putting a lot of menswear out there. So,
but I mean, sure, when we were looking, it would have been nice to just see like a bigger array. You know, like I think we were talking for a little while about a hoodie.
Yeah.
And you know, there were some cool ones, but we only found a couple.
Yeah.
Instead of just like dozens of hoodies to choose from.
Yeah. Luckily for you, I'm like I can actually just modify and design and I could just make you a sweater now, which is kind of what I did. But.
I guess I feel like the sweaters, there wasn't as many sweater options, but in terms of like hats and scarves and everything else, there was just like a ton of.
Because that's stuff. A little bit more uni-style. Like you can go both ways with a hat or with mittens or like scarves. And
people
stuff.
seem to be less picky about just like throwing on a hat.
Yeah.
Than like putting on a sweater.
Yeah, but sweaters are sweaters. That's tricky.
Sweater.
Sweat. You put the sweat in sweater. Okay, so before the dogs go crazy, can we switch over to talk about men who knit? Yeah. Because there are tons of men who knit, and I follow a lot of them on Instagram and YouTube, and I want to give a shout out in particular to a couple of them. Andrew Doing, who is of the Fruity Knitting podcast.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, he knits some beautiful stuff. Yeah. And Rob, who is Paddle to the Sea. He's a knitter? Yeah. Fibertrex. Sarah's guy, okay. Rob.
I just think of him as like a woodsman.
Well, he does both.
Woodsman knitter.
Right, like you're a carpenter, like you know, and a knitter. So it's like, you know.
Knitting trucker, big time
knitting trucker
knitter.
we talked about, Darius we talked about. Anyway, so there are tons of knitters out there who are men. What's it like to be a man knitting in this world?
I feel a little bit...
like you're representing.
Disingenuous to say I'm a knitting dude because I sort of went through like a knitting phase and I haven't been doing a lot of knitting lately. My last set of knitting got eaten by the dog. Oh, yeah. Remember those needles?
Oh, that was so sad. Those were my needles.
I was like, Melissa, can I borrow some eight needles in the round? And
some hand spun.
Yeah, so anyway, I shouldn't have brought it up. So anyway, but I sort of went through a knitting period. What's it like? I feel like knitting's, I understand why you guys are into it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It sort of is something you can do, but you can also kind of do something else. You can talk or you can hang out and watch something or whatever. And it's this, you know, it's like a sort of therapeutic practice or whatever. It's also like it's like this infinite place to explore improvisation.
You do a lot of that, and we've seen that, like when you've brought your hats and things on. Do you have some hats for today?
I brought a couple hats.
Yay.
I brought my worm hat.
Yeah.
Which, this is like, everyone did a worm hat back in the day.
You gotta hold it kind of still up there. So
you can't just...
No.
Everyone did a worm hat back in the day. And so I did one, and I put some kind of top on it.
I love your top. Your top is really cool.
Using some stuff. Some stitching stuff.
So you made it like a tube, and then you brought in the top, kind of with some decreases and whatnot.
Some stuff like that. And then I lined it. I lined it with some. It's like some kind of fleece.
Fleecy
I think I cut a fleece out of something. And just kind of sewed it in.
Oh, that's soft.
The whole thing ended up being a little bit rough. you know, and the lining job kind of stiffened it up a little bit. It doesn't stretch as much as it used to because of the lining.
Okay.
Anyway.
But it's soft and really warm. And he has a big head, so...
Yeah, and it fits or whatever.
The nice thing for you is, like, you can knit hats that fit your big head.
Yeah. I think it was like 122 stitches around or something.
Here come the dogs.
But anyway, I think it's cool. It's definitely, it does seem like knitting is super gendered. You know, I mean, duh. That's why we're talking about this. It's like, at least these days around here, it's mainly women who do it.
Sadly. I mean, because there were cultures in the past where it was like men, women, and children knit.
Yeah.
You know, like like mittens, like their quota of mittens or whatever it was. But piecework has largely been a woman's task.
And I was also thinking about how like woodworking and welding and blacksmithing and you know, other things I'm interested in are mainly dudes, but it's sort of similar. Like there are some exceptions. Yeah, some like really great women who are well known and like big on YouTube and have books out and that kind of thing.
It reminds me a little bit of like when we built the house together in New York. If anyone ever had questions about it or wanted to talk about it, they would talk to you. Like they wouldn't talk to me about it. It was, and we'd be sitting in the same room, you know, sitting right next to each other, and they'd be like, "So Spencer, when you know, put the rafters in." So it's like there are all these gendered assumptions about what you can and can't do or what you know or wouldn't. Like people might not talk to you about like. I don't know as much about knitting hats as you do, but they would probably talk to me about knitting hats instead of you if we were sitting next to each other. I
remember when we kind of went through this phase where we explored a lot of yarn shops.
Yeah.
We haven't been doing that as much as we did, but it seemed like every time we went somewhere, we go to a yarn shop, and I would kind of walk in with questions, usually about the knitted items that were around the shop. Like, hey, how did this get knitted in this direction and this going that way, whatever.
Because you're interested in all that.
And there was kind of like this, a few seconds of the person kind of thinking like, who the hell am I? Like, does this guy have any clue? Because there were like these couches in the knit shop where the guys would just like hang out and wait.
They were like, there's the guy
like,
couch,
go hang out and wait,
couch, or whatever.
But I feel like everyone, you know, after you talked a little bit and they realized that you knew what a stitch was or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the knitting world is pretty cool that way. Like, like very willing to just like take in whoever is knitting as part of the community.
I brought another hat.
This was one of the early ones.
Yeah, this one, I don't think
I knit this one for you.
You
this
did?
was an early hat.
You knit this one?
Yeah, and it's just not right.
I thought I knitted it because it's so fucked up.
I think it was one of the first hats I ever knit.
It has like this top, like it's going okay, and then the top just gets weird.
I'm pretty sure.
Did you really do that one?
I don't know.
I'll claim it if you don't, because it's messed up. I feel like I would just say, I don't know if this has to do with being a dude or anything, but I did get a little frustrated as a knitter. Like, you know, things didn't always turn out. For instance, my sweater project that turned into a pillow. My sweater pillow.
We talked about that.
You know, it was like a lot of work, a lot of time, and I had imagined like, I'm gonna be wearing this sweater around.
Right.
And I wouldn't listen to you, and I was like, I got this. And it just ended up so screwed up. I mean, the body was the same size as the sleeve.
Well,
you know?
I think the basic thing you said to me was like, well, I said I can write you a pattern. You're like, I don't want a pattern. You just tell me what to do.
I was just
and
cavalier
that never
and
ends well. That just never ends well.
I didn't get it. So anyway, I mean, the knitting for me was also kind of hard. And I think what happened to me, maybe this happens to other knitters, is that I was mainly knitting in the evenings. And then I started editing more video and doing more photoshopping and stuff.
And you needed that quiet time for
video games in the evening, and so I just quit knitting. So it was kind of like, because of my life changed, I just didn't have that time to knit or whatever. If we went to Rhinebeck or something like that, is there
Don't say if, they when.
When we drive the bus out to Rhinebeck next year, is there a chance of putting together like a guys knitting
That would be awesome.
Where you all like sit around and talk about it?
That would be awesome.
Would there be enough people?
I think there would. Yeah, I totally think so. Especially at a place like Rhinebeck.
Just to kind of like connect with other people and do it.
It would be a great idea. Maybe we should do that. Who thinks we should take the bus to Rhinebeck next year?
Pick people up along the way and have
oh my god, this is sounding better and better.
A dude knitting thing outside the bus under a canopy.
Oh my god, this sounds great. Let's do it.
It's gonna be interesting to talk about, to talk with other people about.
Yeah, that's.
I've dabbled in a little bit of spinning. I kind of really suck at it.
You've not tried it all that much.
It stresses me out.
It stresses you out.
But I love weaving. And,
you do love weaving, yes.
I just haven't been doing enough of it.
You gotta get that.
My fiber arts have been really kind of like.
Well, you've been working on this bus.
That's my excuse. Yeah, when the bus is done, we're living in here.
Right.
We can just do
and there's room for the loom right there.
Way
and
more
spinning wheels everywhere.
Can you work a little like tour of the bus into your?
Yeah, let's do one.
Yeah.
Let's put some footage in here.
Okay.
Okay. We'll say goodbye and then we will give you some footage of the bus.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on your podcast out here in the bus.
As promised, it happened. Okay.
All right. Here's a quick and dirty tour of the bus. We're up front. We were sitting on the folding couch up here, and if you walk back, this is kind of like a big open layout up here. There is the flat screen fireplace heater dealio up here, which maybe you can see right now. And then over here is the kitchen table where we're gonna eat all of our meals, like every single meal. It's like a flip up thing, and these are the legs. And then this is the kitchen. Currently a bunch of tools and stuff on it, but we've got all of our room for Melissa's yarn stash, pots and pans, whatever. Sink, kitchen, one of the kitchen tables, but this is also a little storage area for more yarn. More storage over here, refrigerator action, and then this is the bathroom. This is kind of a new thing. I don't think you've seen this yet, but this is the bathroom. If you actually stand back that way a little bit, you'll see this door flips this way and kind of like closes off the whole bathroom area. So the toilet and sink and everything's over here, and then the shower's over here. So it makes sort of like a big separate bathroom area. Pretty cool. And then this is our luxury queen size bed that the dogs love and needs a little bit of work because I'm doing some tile. And that's about it. Behind that white door right there is like a trap door, is like a big storage garage area. And that's it. That's the bus.
I hope you guys had as much fun on the prison bus visit as I did. I love having Spencer on the cast, so we'll keep trying to do that whenever we have time and we can get the puppies kind of corralled enough to get us both out there in front of the camera. It's never easy. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about my finished object for this episode, which is this Nordsee Jacke. Nordsee jacket is what I've been calling it. It is a beautiful, short, kind of cropped jacket, fitted, and it is from Albina McLaughlin's latest collection, which is Facing North, and that collection is going to be released November 6th. She's been releasing patterns from it as we've gone along. I sample knit another one of her patterns from this collection. It was the Fisherman's Muse sweater, which was that kind of really cool asymmetrical lace kind of hem and collar sweater that I showed you a few episodes back. I did this test knit for her out of Kramer yarns, one of their chunky yarns, and as a kind of yarn alternative to what the collection is knit in, which is Apple Oaks Fiberworks, which is beautiful chunky yarns hand dyed by some folks in Ireland who do a beautiful job, and I've featured them on the blog before. So this jacket, a few features of this that I'd love to share with you. Number one is that it is just beautifully fitted. So when I throw it on for work over just a blouse or like a button-up, shirt. And it just has this beautiful kind of fitted, it looks like one of those professional jackets that you would wear just like out at work, job interview, all that kind of stuff. So it has that beautiful kind of finished look to it. And I think partly it's because of this I-cord edging, which runs all the way from the back shoulders down the front, around the hem, and then back up. So it creates this really, really beautiful finished look. It's a tailored look. It definitely sits close to the body. I knit a size 34, because I have a 34-inch bust, generally speaking, for these kinds of patterns. And it fits me really nicely, but I wouldn't want to wear it closed necessarily. So I think if I were to, I think I'm gonna pull out the bodice of this a little bit and give it a little bit more room in the bodice. Maybe go for more of the 36 size when because I think I'd be happier wearing it closed at the 36 size. The 34 size is perfect to just wear as a kind of open jacket, which is how I wore it to work last week. The closures are really nifty. the closures, you can kind of like do what you will. And there are plenty of YouTube videos and tutorials out there to help you do different kinds of closures. You could also just, of course, go and buy closures, you know, at your local big box yarn store, your local yarn store. But what I did is just knit up some I-cord. So I'll show you up close what that looks like. So I knit up a 4-stitch I-cord for this side and a 3-stitch I-cord for the other side, and then just tacked it in to the actual sweater here, so that all that's showing, I did that on the wrong side, so that all that shows on the right side is just your loop. And with the other side I did the same thing, except that I used a 3-stitch I-cord, and then once I had a long enough I-cord, I braided it into like a Celtic knot so that this kind of knot sits there. I did the same finishing so that the I-cord can kind of sit behind this other I-cord edging, so that all you see on the front is the beautiful little Celtic knot bobble. And I did it this way because I like the way this jacket kind of sits without a lot of fussy fuss in the front, and you kind of just get to sit a little. There we go, it sits really nicely. And the mannequin wants to hold on to the fabric. It sits really nicely this way, I think, without a lot of like kind of like strapping and whatnot across the front. But I think a kind of leather or faux leather strapping could be really cool across the front. I could imagine doing the I-cord and kind of tacking it onto the front in some really artistic kind of ways. There's some beautiful YouTube videos out there to show you how to do that kind of finishing. But that's what it looks like with the closures attached. And like I said, I wore it to work without the closures, just open, and I really loved it as a perfect kind of little jacket. So this is a beautiful sweater, highly recommend it. I want to make a couple more because it's just like a really functional piece for your wardrobe. If you had one in a few different colors, you could just mix and match them like little jackets. They're very warm. The day that I wore it, it was like maybe in the 30s here, Fahrenheit, for those of you who aren't in the States, for those of you who are using the better metric system. We're talking Fahrenheit here. So freezing-ish temperatures, and I put it on and it just was like a warm hug. It was just so perfect. It's fitted, it kind of sits close to your body, and it was just really, really nice to wear to work. I was actually warm that day. So I want to knit a few more, and since it's in these chunky yarns, I think I knit this whole thing in maybe 3 days. It was really a quick knit. The closures took me a little longer because I was kind of experimenting and having a little fun. But a really, really nice finished knit, and I do want to knit up 2 or 3 more of them to have in my wardrobe. So that is the Nordsee jacket from Albina McLaughlin of LB Handknits. And Albina, here is the giveaway for you. Albina has offered a copy, an ebook, electronic copy of Facing North when it comes out, to one of you guys. So if you want to enter for that giveaway, all you need to do is leave a comment below. Have a look through Facing North. I'll put the link down there, and let me know which pattern you like the best. You know, is it this crop jacket? Is it the Fisherman's Muse sweater? There are so many. There are 2, I think there are 2 other sweaters in the collection, plus hats and mittens. So there's just tons of stuff in that collection. Tell me which is your favorite pattern. Leave a comment here. I'll open a Ravelry thread as usual, or on the blog, and I will pick a winner for the next episode of that e-copy. Albina has also offered a discount code for anyone who wants to download individual patterns from the collection. So I'll put the code here. It's going to be FNKTS20. So like Facing North, Knitting the Stash 20. And if you take that code and use it in your Ravelry checkout, you'll get 20% off any of the individual patterns in the collection. There are some really cool ones, like I've said. There's pretty much something for everyone in that collection, I think. And if you want to go check it out, you have 20% off. So that's really awesome. Thank you, Albina, for offering both the giveaway and the pattern discount code. Yeah, so that is the Nordsee jacket, and that's my finished object for the week. I also have a finished pattern, which I told you guys about. You guys have seen it likely on Instagram and on the blog. I finished the Phoenix Pullover pattern, and it is officially out on Ravelry. Right now it's in sizes 32 to 40. Because it's my first pattern, you guys have followed this whole process. That's the sizing I was able to get to. My hope is that I will have more sizing for future patterns, and I might go back to this pattern and add some extra sizes when I have more time. But that pattern is out, and I did a discount code for the first couple days that it was out. And now what I'm doing from November 2nd from yesterday until November 10th, I want to take all the proceeds from this pattern that come in and donate them to the Park Vermilion Humane Society. Now the Park Vermilion Humane Society is where we got both of our puppies. They're doing really good work over there. It's a shelter in Indiana. They see a lot of dogs and cats coming through there. And they have a great Facebook presence. They're out there in the community. They place so many animals in good homes, and they help other animals that are lost find their homes. So they're in need of some cat food right now. They just did a drive recently to get beds for all the animals. They're a great not-for-profit society, and what I'd like to do is donate all the profits from this pattern between November 10th and November 2nd and November 10th to them. The pattern costs $5. If you buy a pattern, you get a pattern, yay! And all the money that you're spending is gonna go toward helping animals in need and helping animals find homes and be cared for in the meantime. So that's my little way of giving back, especially because we have our puppies from there, and I love animals and animal care, and I think it's a worthwhile thing to put all the money from this pattern toward. So if you want to hop over to Ravelry, download the pattern, even just to donate, that would be awesome. If you want to just donate to the Park Vermilion Humane Society, I'll put a link down below. And that's wonderful. Leave us a comment. Let us know, why you wanted to donate or what it is that you do to help animals in your community. I'd love to know. Okay, so those are my two finished objects for the week. We got a sweater, we got a pattern. It's kind of exciting. What else do we have? I have a giveaway winner for the Woolly Thistle. So you guys remember, of course, from last cast, Corinne of the Woolly Thistle gave us some wonderful gear to give away. Some yarn from Jamieson & Smith, a tote bag, some enamel pins, which are truly adorable. And I want to first thank Corinne for this beautiful giveaway. Thank you so much for sending all of this gear to share with my podcast folk. And now for the winners. They've all been notified, so make sure that you check your YouTube comments and your Ravelry pages and all that kind of stuff to see if you were one of the winners, to send me your address. We have Martha Rogers, who is going to win some yarn and a beautiful enamel pin. We have Farm to Needle, and I don't know your name, Farm to Needle, but I do have you on Instagram, so I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but Farm to Needle, you're also going to win some yarn and a pin. And last but certainly not least, we have Yarn Taxi Driver, who's gonna get this cool tote from the Woolly Thistle. So thank you again, Corinne, for the giveaway. And if you're one of the winners, Martha, Farm to Needle, or Yarn Taxi Driver, I've sent you a message. Please get in touch with me at knittingthestash@gmail.com so that I can have your address and send these things out to you in the mail as soon as possible. So congratulations to all the winners, and if you're interested in entering to win the next giveaway, which is the one from Albina of LB Handknits for her Facing North collection, leave me a comment here on which pattern in the collection you would like to knit most or first if you win the collection. I think that's it for today. That was a long episode. We had a prison bus field trip, finished objects, giveaways galore, lots of good stuff going on. So I hope you guys are well, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.